most confusing thing about avoidance isn't their emotional unavailability, it's the timing of it. They don't push you away when they're indifferent. They don't create distance when they feel nothing. They push you away precisely when their feelings become real, when connection starts to matter, when their heart begins to crack open despite their best efforts to keep it sealed shut. This isn't romantic complexity or mysterious allure. This is emotional dysfunction with perfect timing. They've mastered the art of self-sabotage so completely that they can destroy the best thing in their life. Right. At the moment it becomes genuinely good. Picture this. Everything is finally working. They're opening up, sharing pieces of themselves they've never shared before, letting you see the person behind their walls. You start to believe that maybe, just maybe, they're capable of the love you've been hoping for. And that's exactly when they detonate the whole thing. It's not that they don't want love. It's that wanting love terrifies them more than being alone forever. So they choose the familiar pain of isolation over the unknown risk of genuine connection. They push away what they want most because wanting something means it can be taken away. And losing something they actually care about feels more dangerous than never having it at all. Today, we're going to decode exactly why they do this, not to excuse their behavior, but to help you understand that their push isn't about you. It's about their fundamental inability to handle their own feelings. Their rejection of you is actually their rejection of themselves, their fear of their own capacity to care, their terror at discovering they're human enough to need someone. This pattern isn't love. It's emotional cowardice dressed up as self-protection. And understanding it might just save your sanity. Chapter 1. The fear behind the push. When an avoidant starts developing real feelings for you, their brain treats it like a 5-alarm fire. Every instinct they've developed since childhood starts screaming danger signals. Not because you're dangerous, but because caring about someone, really caring, feels like handing someone a loaded weapon and hoping they don't use it. Their push isn't rational, it's primal. It's the emotional equivalent of jerking your hand away from a hot stove. Except the hot stove is genuine intimacy, and the burn they're avoiding is the possibility of being hurt by someone who actually matters to them. Think about it. They've spent their entire life believing that needing someone equals weakness, that depending on another person equals inevitable disappointment, that love equals eventual abandonment. These aren't casual beliefs. They're survival mechanisms carved into their psyche by years of learning that emotional investment leads to emotional injury. So when they feel themselves starting to need you, want you, depend on your presence in their life, every alarm bell goes off. The closer they get to genuinely loving you, the closer they get to the thing they fear most, being vulnerable enough to be destroyed by another person's choices. Their push is a preemptive strike against their own feelings. They're not pushing you away because they don't want you. They're pushing you away because they want you so much it terrifies them. The intensity of their own feelings becomes the threat they need to neutralize. This is why the push happens right when things get good. Right when you're thinking, finally, we're getting somewhere. Their internal danger system activates. The better things get between you, the more they have to lose. The more they have to lose, the more desperate they become to protect themselves from loss. They sabotage the relationship not because it's bad, but because it's becoming too good. Because good things can be taken away, and they'd rather destroy it themselves than risk you destroying it later. At least when they're the ones doing the destroying, they're in control of the timing. The push isn't about you not being good enough. It's about you being too good, mattering too much, becoming too important. You've accidentally become the exact thing they've spent their whole life learning to fear. Someone whose opinion of them actually matters. Chapter 2. The Self-Protection Paradox. Here's where their logic becomes truly twisted. They convince themselves that pushing you away is actually an act of love. In their mind, they're protecting you from the inevitable disappointment of being in relationship with someone as emotionally damaged as they believe themselves to be. They've constructed this elaborate narrative where they're the villain in your love story, and pushing you away is them being heroic enough to spare you from their dysfunction. They're not rejecting you. They're freeing you to find someone better, someone more capable of love, someone who won't hurt you the way they're convinced they will. This self-protection masquerades as selflessness, but it's actually the most selfish thing they can do. They're making unilateral decisions about what's best for you based on their own fears, not your actual preferences. They're deciding you can't handle their imperfections without giving you the chance to prove them wrong. The paradox is brutal. The thing they do to protect themselves from being hurt, pushing you away, creates the exact outcome they were trying to avoid. By rejecting you to avoid being rejected, they guarantee the loss they were so afraid of experiencing. By ending things to avoid being abandoned, they abandon you first. They'd rather be the one who leaves than risk being the one who gets left. They'd rather destroy the relationship on their terms than risk you destroying it on yours. They'd rather break your heart intentionally than risk you breaking theirs accidentally. This isn't noble self-sacrifice. This is emotional cowardice with a hero complex. They're not protecting you from their damage. They're inflicting their damage on you while telling themselves it's for your own good. They're not sparing you pain. They're guaranteeing it while convincing themselves they had no choice. The most infuriating part is how they often disappear after they push you away, leaving you to wonder what you did wrong while they retreat into their fortress of solitude, convinced they've done the right thing. They've hurt you to protect you, damaged the relationship to save it, chosen loneliness to preserve love. In their twisted logic, breaking your heart now prevents you from having your heart broken later, except later never comes, because they never give the relationship a chance to succeed or fail on its own merits. They're so busy preventing potential future pain that they create guaranteed present pain instead. Chapter 3. The Sabotage of Success. The moment things start feeling real between you, the avoidant activates what can only be described as an emotional self-destruct sequence, not because the relationship is failing, but because it's succeeding too well. Success in love feels more terrifying to them than failure ever could, because failure is familiar territory, while success is uncharted waters, full of unknown dangers. Watch how methodically they dismantle what you've built together. They start picking fights over trivial things. They suddenly become too busy for the activities you used to enjoy together. They begin questioning the relationship's future right when it starts having one. They manufacture problems where none existed before, creating chaos in the calm you worked so hard to establish. This isn't random destruction. It's strategic warfare against their own happiness. They can't handle the cognitive dissonance of being in a functional relationship when their entire identity is built around being someone who can't sustain love. A successful relationship threatens their core belief about themselves, so they sabotage it to maintain psychological consistency. The better you treat them, the more suspicious they become. The more stable the relationship gets, the more they look for exit signs. The more you prove you're not going anywhere, the more desperately they try to make you leave. They're so convinced that good things don't last, that they'd rather end good things quickly than wait for them to end naturally. They sabotage success because success implies they might actually be worthy of love, and that possibility is more terrifying than any amount of loneliness. If they're worthy of love, then all those years of believing they were fundamentally unlovable were wrong. If they can sustain a healthy relationship, then all their previous relationship failures were choices, not inevitabilities. Rather than face the possibility that they might actually be capable of love, they choose to prove themselves right about being incapable of it. They'd rather be consistently wrong about love than inconsistently right about it. Better to be reliably damaged than surprisingly healthy. The sabotage often comes disguised as suddenly realizing incompatibilities that were never problems before. They'll suddenly decide your communication styles don't match, your life goals aren't aligned, your personalities clash in ways they never noticed during the good times. These aren't genuine discoveries. They're manufactured justifications for their escape plan. They destroy the relationship to prove they were right to expect it to be destroyed. They create the ending they predicted to validate their pessimism about love. They become the villain in your story to confirm their belief that they were never meant to be anyone's hero. Chapter 4. The Language of Backwards Love. Avoidants speak an emotional dialect that sounds like rejection, but often means the opposite. Learning to decode their backwards language is like trying to read a mirror. Everything appears reversed from its actual meaning. When they say, "I need space," they often mean, "I'm scared of how close I want to be to you." When they act distant, they're frequently fighting the urge to get closer. Their cruelest moments often coincide with their most tender feelings. The meaner they get, the more vulnerable they feel. The more they insist they don't need you, the more desperately they want to need you. The more they push you away, the more they're hoping you'll refuse to be pushed. This creates an impossible situation where their expressions of fear look exactly like expressions of disinterest. Their panic at falling in love mimics their indifference perfectly. Their desperate attempt to protect themselves from loving you looks identical to them simply not loving you at all. They'll tell you they're not ready for a relationship while acting like they're in one. They'll insist they don't want anything serious while treating you like you're the most important person in their world. They'll claim they need to focus on themselves while making you the center of their emotional universe. The backwards language extends to their actions too. They'll become unavailable right after being incredibly present. They'll start arguments right after moments of deep connection. They'll question the relationship right after making it feel more solid than it's ever been. Their behavior becomes a series of contradictions that only make sense when you understand they're fighting their own feelings every step of the way. They often communicate their love through withdrawal, their care through criticism, their need through rejection. They're like someone trying to say, "Please stay," in a language that only has words for "go away." Every attempt to express their feelings comes out as its opposite. The most heartbreaking part of their backwards language is that they're often desperately hoping you'll learn to speak it fluently. They want you to understand that their no sometimes means not yet. Their maybe often means please convince me. And their I don't know usually means I'm terrified of how much I do know. But here's the problem with backwards language. It places the entire burden of translation on you. It makes you responsible for decoding their fear while they remain responsible for nothing except being afraid. It turns love into a guessing game where you're always supposed to know what they really mean, even when they can't say it themselves. Their backwards love isn't romantic, it's exhausting, and expecting you to become fluent in a language designed to hide rather than reveal feelings isn't fair to either of you. Chapter 5. The Timing of Their Terror. The cruelest aspect of avoidant behavior isn't that they push you away, it's when they choose to do it. They don't sabotage things during rough patches when the relationship is already struggling. They don't create distance when you're fighting or incompatible. They wait until everything is perfect, until you're finally feeling secure, until you've started to believe that maybe this time will be different. They push you away right after the best sex you've ever had together, right after meeting your family and charming everyone, right after vacation where you felt completely connected, right after you've told your friends that this one might actually work out. The timing isn't coincidental. It's precisely calculated by their subconscious to inflict maximum damage. This timing reveals the truth about their fear. They're not afraid of being hurt during bad times. They're afraid of being happy during good times. Bad times feel manageable because they confirm their worldview. Good times feel dangerous because they threaten everything they believe about themselves and love. They wait until you're invested, until you've opened your heart, until you've started planning a future together. Then, they detonate the whole thing, leaving you confused and devastated because everything seemed so right just moments before. This isn't accidental cruelty. It's their emotional immune system rejecting the happiness that threatens their identity. The timing also serves another purpose. It ensures maximum confusion on your part. If they pushed you away during obvious problems, you'd understand. But pushing you away during the good times makes you question everything you thought you knew about the relationship, about them, about yourself. They create chaos and calm because chaos feels familiar. They manufacture crisis during peace because crisis feels manageable. They destroy happiness because happiness feels foreign and therefore dangerous. The timing of their push isn't random. It's their subconscious way of returning to emotional territory they know how to navigate. You find yourself replaying the last few weeks, searching for signs you missed, problems you overlooked, mistakes you made. But there were no signs because there were no problems. The only problem was that things were going too well, and going well triggered their deepest fears about what they might lose if they allowed themselves to be truly happy. Their timing teaches you the most painful lesson. With an avoidant, your greatest relationship successes become your biggest relationship threats. The better things get, the more danger you're in. The more they love you, the more likely they are to leave you. Chapter 6. Your strategic response. Understanding why they push you away when they want you most doesn't obligate you to tolerate it. Knowledge isn't the same as acceptance, and comprehension doesn't require participation in their dysfunction. You can understand their fear while refusing to be collateral damage in their war against their own feelings. The biggest mistake you can make is chasing someone who's running from their own emotions. When they push, your instinct might be to pull harder, to prove your love is stronger than their fear, to convince them they're wrong about love being dangerous. But chasing someone who's running from intimacy only confirms their belief that intimacy is something to run from. Your strategic response requires a level of emotional discipline that goes against every romantic instinct you have. When they push, you don't chase. When they create distance, you don't close it. When they manufacture problems, you don't solve them. You maintain your position and let them decide whether they want to return to it or continue running away from it. This doesn't mean being cold or punishing. It means being consistently available without being desperately available. It means maintaining your standards while they figure out whether they can meet them. It means loving them enough to let them work through their own emotional issues without making their issues your emergency. Sometimes your refusal to chase them actually helps them. When you don't pursue someone who's running from love, you remove the thing they're running from. Sometimes they stop running when they realize no one's chasing them. Sometimes they return when they discover that their push didn't create the dramatic pursuit they expected. But, and this is crucial, you can't maintain this stance as a strategy to get them back. You have to maintain it because you respect yourself enough not to chase someone who's actively running away from you. The moment your non-pursuit becomes a manipulation tactic to make them return, you've fallen into the same backwards dynamic they've created. Your response must be authentic. You genuinely won't chase someone who doesn't want to be caught. You genuinely won't beg someone to love you. You genuinely won't convince someone that you're worth their emotional presence. Either they want to be in your life or they don't, but you won't make their confusion your chaos. The most powerful thing you can do when an avoidant pushes you away is to gracefully step back and let them go. Not as punishment, but as basic self-respect. Not as strategy, but as standards. They can return if they choose to, but they can't return to someone who's been waiting desperately for them to figure out what they want. You maintain your worth while they decide whether they're brave enough to love someone worthy. Chapter 7. The reality check they refuse. The hardest truth about avoidants who push away what they want most is that they're not mysterious or complex. They're simply choosing fear over growth at every critical juncture. Their behavior isn't the result of deep psychological wounds that excuse their actions. It's the result of their refusal to do the uncomfortable work of healing those wounds. Every time they push you away when they want you most, they're making a choice. They're choosing the familiar pain of loneliness over the unfamiliar challenge of love. They're choosing the predictable outcome of isolation over the uncertain outcome of connection. They're choosing to remain broken rather than risk the vulnerability required for healing. This isn't happening to them. They're actively participating in it. They're not victims of their attachment style. They're practitioners of it. Each push, each retreat, each moment of sabotage is a conscious decision to prioritize their comfort zone over their growth zone, their fear over their desires, their past over their potential future. The reality they refuse to acknowledge is that their fear of being hurt by love is creating more pain than love ever could. Their protection strategy is causing the exact damage they're trying to prevent. Their emotional safety measures are making them emotionally unsafe to be around. They've convinced themselves that their push-pull behavior is beyond their control, that it's just how they're wired, that it's an unavoidable consequence of their past experiences. But this is intellectual dishonesty at its finest. Millions of people with difficult pasts choose to do the work required to become capable of healthy love. The avoidant simply chooses not to. Their refusal to face this reality keeps them trapped in a cycle where they perpetually want what they perpetually destroy. They get to have their emotional cake and eat it too, experiencing the intensity of desire without the responsibility of sustaining what they desire. They get to feel deep feelings without doing deep work. The most infuriating aspect of their reality avoidance is how they often seek sympathy for the very problems they refuse to solve. They want understanding for their struggles without taking action to address them. They want patience for their patterns without working to change them. They want accommodation for their limitations without pushing against those limitations. They treat their emotional unavailability like a chronic illness rather than a curable condition. But unlike actual illnesses, emotional unavailability comes with a prescription: therapy, self-reflection, consistent effort, and the willingness to be uncomfortable while healing. The prescription exists. They simply refuse to fill it. Chapter 8. Your final calculation. After understanding why avoidants push away what they want most, you're left with a calculation that has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. How long are you willing to love someone who consistently chooses fear over love? How much of your life are you willing to spend hoping they'll become brave enough to want what they already want? The math is brutally simple. Every day you spend waiting for them to stop running from their own feelings is a day you're not spending with someone who's capable of moving toward love rather than away from it. Every month you invest in their potential is a month you're not investing in someone who's already doing the work to be emotionally available. This isn't about giving up on love or becoming cynical about relationships. This is about recognizing that love requires two people who are willing to choose connection over comfort, vulnerability over safety, growth over stagnation. When only one person is making that choice, it's not love. It's a one-sided emotional labor arrangement. Your final calculation must include the cost of loving someone who pushes away what they want most. The cost isn't just your time and energy. It's your belief in your own worthiness of consistent love. It's your faith in the possibility of mutual emotional presence. It's your trust that someone can want you and choose you simultaneously. The avoidant who pushes you away when they want you most is teaching you that wanting someone isn't enough. Feeling love isn't enough. Having strong feelings isn't enough. What matters is the willingness to act on those feelings consistently, to choose love repeatedly, to do the uncomfortable work that sustainable intimacy requires. You can understand their fear, empathize with their struggle, and recognize their humanity while still refusing to accept their behavior as the price of admission to their heart. Understanding why someone hurts you doesn't obligate you to continue being hurt by them. The most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is to stop accepting scraps of inconsistent affection from someone who's capable of offering so much more, but chooses not to. Your consistency in the face of their inconsistency isn't helping anyone grow. It's just enabling their comfortable dysfunction. Some people will choose fear every time, no matter how much love you offer, how patient you are, or how clearly you demonstrate that love doesn't have to equal loss. And that's their choice to make. But it's also your choice whether to stay and watch them make it repeatedly, or to walk away and find someone who chooses love as consistently as you do. The calculation is yours to make. Choose wisely.